Welcome to this week's deep dive. This week we have the amazing and very talented Brian Stidham from EMT Easy. Welcome, Brian.
Oh, thank you for having me.
No problem. This week, we're normally what we do is we go into one of your tweets for our weekly Twitter chat. But this week, we're not really going to go into a tweet so much as because you were the inspiration for this week's Twitter chat. In that, awesome. No, just a little flatter there. Brian, inspirational. But you had an amazing presentation at SKU Camp, at Common SKU Camp this week, where you talked about photography, and both Josh and I were there and we loved it. And we're like, okay, well, let's make it this week's Twitter chat. So Brian, we're just going to start and go on it. So awesome. Are you prepared for this?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Awesome. So we kind of asked, like, what makes a good product shot? And you kind of said, like, more lifestyle shots and getting out of the office for these shots. So what for you defines, like, what do you think of when you're staging a product shot or thinking of catalog pictures or lifestyle photos? Like, what are the elements that you keep in mind for it?
So I try to think of things that obviously pertain to the item. And so if it's a can cooler, of course, I'm going to go maybe somewhere warm. You don't want to go somewhere cold like Canada where you're at.
It's perfect 15 degrees here. It's fine.
Of course. And so you want to bring out elements that help tell a story, you know, that for that product. And so I'm always thinking of that. So if you're thinking of, if it's food, you're thinking about the emotions that come with that. And so maybe you'll bring different elements of that to the food or whatever it is.
So how do you make sure that the main product becomes the feature of it? Or is it sometimes it to just have the product in the background? Or what do you think of when you're setting it up with different items?
No, so you want to bring the product to the foreground, of course, but have all the elements kind of in the background. So when people's looking at it, it's just another reminder of where you're at, who's there with you, and all the warm feelings that you would have, you know, with that product.
Awesome. So what other design elements should we keep in mind when we're setting up our lifestyle shots?
Well, you want the logo for sure. You want that to be visible. And that's really the main thing, the logo and the product.
You're making this sound so like straightforward, like just take a photo of it, no biggie.
It kind of is.
Photography is hard for people. Like Instagram, like putting a filter on it made it like super easy. But what you have beautiful shots, Brian.
When you get there,
behind the scenes.
Yeah, when you get there, you just don't set it up and take one photo. You take 50 photos, and you go through, and then you find the best photo out of those 50 that tells the story. And sometimes it's moving around, taking it to new locations and things like that.
Got it. Okay, so just take it until you've got the photo is your tip here?
I think so. Yeah.
I feel like you should give other tips, like put some texture in the shot, like think of like different, like, because the main one, which everyone really latched onto at SKU Camp, was change the angle of the shot. So like you had everyone getting down real low for the photos. So you have other tips like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's really about the 50 photos. It's like take one high, take one low, take one to the side.
So constantly be moving.
Yeah, you should move. Don't move the product sometimes. It's like people get lazy. And so they have the strap around their neck and they take the photo and then they're done. And then they get back and they're like, it's not that great. So instead, you move, take the strap off, and then get low, get high, like I was talking about.
That I have to say though is like, I totally get that for product shots. I think people think that they can just take the shot and they're good. But if you ever watch anyone take photos of their food, they're like angling, they're all over the place for it.
And it's all about the light too, because a lot of times if they're taking photos of their food, the good ones is the people that bring a little light with them, or they'll have someone else at the table, you know, turn on the flashlight on their phone so they can get a little better lighting in a very dark restaurant.
So is your,
wait.
take a photo and I don't want anyone to watch me take
Well, I
photos.
don't take a lot of photos of food because I eat it before I get the chance. I might take one photo or two photos and then I'm out. And then there's no chance to get a light out.
Yeah.
But that's the pro. That or sit next to a window if you want a really good
So
food.
when you take photos, are you like, your preference is natural light, or will you always add extra light to the situation?
I do both. So of course, like it just depends. Like if it's dusk, then I'm probably going to add a light to it. If there's already too much light and it's like noon, you're looking for shade or something like that. You're looking to get out of the light, so you don't want any extra light. So it just kind of depends. Or if the light's behind someone, you almost have to have light in front of them to counteract that bright light. And so then you would add, some other lighting to it.
Got it. So, and so you referenced like a handheld, like tripod light. Is there like, do flashlights on people's phones, like setting up a different lamp? Like, if say people are on like budget, like they're sitting in their office and they want to make sure they get a decent shot of a product. Like, what's your like go-to, it's at hand, this will make the photo look good suggestion for people?
Without using like a nice light.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could buy.
Budget and
I
fast.
mean, you could buy little lights off Amazon with a little filter on it for, I don't know, $30.
Or you can grab, like, our industry sells lights too that you can plug into your phone too. So there's no excuse for not having good lighting in your photos.
There's not.
Yeah.
And the big thing is a lot of times you have to filter it. And so, you could use, I don't know, just like a cloth or something like that.
Interesting. So like a t-shirt that you have.
Or a t-shirt, just something, I don't know, something to diffuse the light.
Okay.
But just to make it soft. But if you don't have anything, then just your phone light's fine sometimes.
Got it. Okay. So you have amazing photos and product shots, and EMT is like doing great work. So so obviously you're out there inspiring some people, and not me, you're fine with me. But for other people, like, who inspires you? Like, who do you look to and being like, they're doing something cool, I'm gonna copy, follow, and be inspired by them?
Like in the industry or just?
In the whole wide world, who inspires you out there?
I like Peak Design if you look at their stuff, just because I'm a big fan of their camera bags, and so they have really good photo shots.
They should have really good photo shots. They have camera bags.
Yeah, I know, right?
Be really bad if they were the bad ones.
True. I like looking at North Face also. They have really cool videos and things like that. It shows off their stuff. Anyone like High Retail,
Yeah.
normally has really cool stuff. And so I look at that. And then one thing most people don't think about is just looking at magazines. Just going to like a Barnes and Noble or something like that, and just looking at all the magazines there and getting fresh ideas from that. That's definitely very fresh. And because a lot of times on Instagram, which I get a lot of inspiration from, it's all like repetitive things. And so that kind of wears out. And so you're always looking for outside, inspiration.
So do you have like a hashtag that you really like to follow that you're just like, I'm always going to click on, like hashtag camera, or I don't know, hashtag nice filter? Like, do you have
it can vary, but I look at a lot of like maybe hashtag outdoors or something like that, because I like to take a lot of outdoor photos.
Yeah,
so.
You have great shots that way.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's a trick of like getting outdoors and taking the shot that way. I think you had this one tip where you had, like, you'd just taken a piece of wood and you shot it so it looked like it was on a table, but all it was like a piece of wood that you just took outside. Like, what other, like, you suggested throwing props in your car as well. What props should you have to hand?
What props?
Yeah, do you have, like, are you like, okay, I've always got to have like a bottle of beer in case I'm doing a koozie shot? Or
I mean, I always have.
Did your brain for information here, Brian?
I'm trying to think what I have in my car. I mean, lots of like glitter and paints, just random notebooks, random maps, random lanterns, lights. right now I have a lot of Halloween stuff in my car.
Like
Some
serial
of the
killer
Christmas
masks.
stuff. So yeah, next there'll be a lot of ornaments and Christmas lights, things like that. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, like,
Whatever holidays coming up.
yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. Well, Brian, thank you for taking the time to chat with us
Yeah,
and
no
sharing
problem.
your genius. And thank you to Maple Ridge Farms for being our sponsor again. And Brian, where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me at Brian Stidham on Instagram. And I'd like to give a shout out to Molly at Maple Ridge Farms for helping me understand Twitter before I went on to to chat and things like that. So
Yeah, Instagram is your jam. You're much better on that one.
yes, yes. I had to Google and try to figure out how Twitter worked, and I was like, can't figure anything out. So I decided to ask the expert. So
Molly is very good at it.
right.
So thank you, Molly, for dragging Brian onto our Twitter chat so we can drag him onto our podcast. Well, perfect. And thank you and have a good day.
All right, you too.